Daily market recap for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Let's go. This is Dan Max at EXP Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is my stock, Bitcoin, gold, and silver daily market recaps. Please subscribe if you like what you see. Thank you. This is Dan Max at EXP Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is a daily market recap for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Let's get into it. As always, start in the Discord room. A lot of people have questions either on videos or just DM me, and I always tell them to come by the Discord room. Most don't, but a lot of chat, a lot of information all day going on. Again, keep in mind all of the beginner chat, weekend newsletters, and rules, education, volume price analysis, Jesse Livermore talk. A lot of stuff going on here. I always ask people if they got questions, come in here and talk about it. Even if you don't agree with me. I mean, somebody today on YouTube didn't agree with what I was saying and was trying to troll me, and I was like, hey, I ultimately ended up being right, but hey, I'm going to be wrong too, so I don't really care. If you want to talk about it and try to understand why, we'll get into it obviously when we get to the SPY, but there's always a lot to talk about. I always tell people, I'm like, this is, by yourself, good luck. If you've been doing this a long time, I hope you're doing well. If you're still newer to this, you want help, ask questions, and be a friend, be cool. All right, Bitcoin, as we always start off, we said breaking the downtrend was good. Not really excited about the volume, so it leaves me believing at some point we will get a pullback. We talked about the first test of this box, which is the VAP zone at the bottom of it, backing off, and what we've been doing is holding high and tight. However, for Bitcoin bulls, high and tight is good. I mean, the action right now is what I would consider just high and tight. You have a big up move, a little bit of a pullback, a big, no, I wouldn't say relative, bigger up move, pulling back. So think about it relative to the size of the move. It doesn't seem that deep of a pullback. So if you're a Bitcoin bull, you're just holding tight. But again, be aware that at this point, there is something a little sneaky about the volume that I'm a little worried about. So I think at some point you might get a retest of the lows. If you look at, say, like the weekly, I don't really like that hammer. And that's one of the things I apologize if I didn't point this out last week, is that yes, last week was a hammer. So if you don't make a new high this week, don't be surprised if you come back down to 35,000 area. So just keep that in mind. Let's get into the market as we always do. We start with the TLT, and one of the things I've been talking about is potentially the TLT bottoming. We're in some important zones here. Today's action was a hammer. If you can see, oh Jesus, apologize. Drinking and driving. I'm just kidding. We filled the gap here. Let me just draw it. I'm going to put it in a pink color. I always put gaps as pink. I don't know why. Just that's what I was taught many years ago, because they're not typical, and so you need a color that isn't typical, and pink is that color. So we filled the gap today, as you can see, and then we had a hammer, a doji hammer at the lows. So I mean, technically it's, again, if you think about where it's come from, it's due to bounce. Now, I'm predicting a bounce and rates to go lower, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's out of the woods yet. I just think short term, you're due for a bounce. After that, we will go back and review it as is. But at this point, I'm not really a V bottom guy, as you realize. Even V top, I mean, the people, when we get into the SPY, people are, like the guy who's talking today, Yaki or whatever. I'm like, dude, you don't think the high might retest before it drops? Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see. The dollar, this is another one we talked about. It's under the trend and it's above the 100-day. At this point, this little blue circle becomes your support and resistance. I think you can take this off right now. I think this triangle doesn't really, it's just the top of this area matters, and this area matters for the time being. The VIX, we talked about this. Anytime you get over 31, unless there's a real crash risk, which I didn't think there was, we back down. Now we talked about yesterday, 20-day, and I personally, again, I would not be shorting the market. I'd be selling options, and I'd be more likely selling out of the money either calls or out of the money puts at this point. We're trying to stick to the leadership, which we will. Oh, let me just end with the VIX. Just watch the trend line. Watch this trend line. I mean, I think it's due to hit at some point, and it wouldn't be surprised me if it hits the 50-day in the trend line somewhere around the end of the week. I guess 17th, 18th. It would be, 22 area. That would be my guess potentially, but also too, we just had 3 straight down days of the VIX. It could be due to pop, and if our friend Yaki is correct, then maybe he gets his little bear move. I said, did a trade alert again. If you want, check the channel. Said watch out for this trend line in the 200-day. Today's action was wide and loose. You made higher highs and lower lows, which if you're a bear or a bull, good luck. I mean, as I said, we talked about not closing below this price was bullish, and then you gapped up. Well, at this point, staying below this downtrend, in my opinion, is bearish. But I would not be surprised if we break out at some point to go higher for the short term. Just be aware, middle of February is usually actually bearish. So I kind of feel for the bears here. They might ultimately, oh Jesus, pull out the W in time because of the seasonality of it all. But at this point, you gotta be careful. You really gotta be careful. And if you're shorting the market, I mean, I've tried to explain to you, it's probably better to be quick about it. Okay, here we go. Hit the trend line today. Just be quick. Trade. I mean, don't expect always this move or always that move. Sometimes indecision. Keep in mind what's coming up. The Feds. If you look at the monthly, let's just zoom out for a second. I hope this video is not going to be too long. I wouldn't be surprised if we back test the lows, which is the 430 area. When, I don't know. But I also wouldn't be surprised if, you know, since we are technically making higher lows, that we maybe fill this gap up here in the 461. I'm just sticking to leadership. I'm not trying to overthink this by playing shitty acting tech or names that just aren't doing that great. I'm trying to stick to the leadership, and we're going to talk about it. We're into it. Qs, again, 20-day, talked about it. I mean, is this trend line real? I don't know, man. It's only got 1 point. But the only thing going that for the bulls is you got some higher lows. I mean, I don't know how you want to draw that trend line. It's not perfect, but you know what I mean? You can see higher lows. We're not making higher highs, so it's a pennant. Let's see what happens when it squeezes out into this pennant and just go from there. Again, if you're newer to trading, over trading is the biggest problem for beginners and trading options. So if you're shorting highs up here and buying down here, cool. But get bearish if the pennant breaks, get bullish if the pennant breaks out of the upside. I mean, it's just, you got to use these tells in the market. And again, predicting it, I don't really predict the news because I see how news comes out and it just acts certain ways. I mean, at this point today, look at, like yesterday, we talked about buying gold on the dip. It's in the Discord room if you want to go look at it. We said, hey, it's probably a good buying opportunity. Eric, I know, is taking full advantage of it. Nice pull, bounce right back, you know. At this point, I need to get over this set 175. I just, you know, the old highs were right there. Get over this box. We're right at it. I mean, I don't like to close right at it. I'd rather blast right through it. But at this point, it's better than nothing because this is the leadership. This is the stuff that's going up. If you look compared to like the Qs, I think in tech, you can see like these names are doing, like they're sneakily outperforming or bottoming potentially. So just keep that in mind. For other tech, it's been wild and sloppy. Green days, you know, like I say, silver every day getting bought. Over the 20-day, it looks pretty good at this point. I think, I mean, let's just draw this. You might be able to use this as a trend. Let's just see what happens. I don't really think of it. I apologize. Let me clean this chart up. This is not my trading computer. Y'all know who know me. I got the 12 screener. I just have to downsize it for this computer. At this point, it's tough to know. Just, I think in time we'll probably make higher highs, but let the pennant play out. Let's get into the miners because again, this is what we were talking about. I don't know if you checked those videos, we talked about buying Nugget in the 40s. And look where it's at now. It's in the 50, almost 55. It's at the 200-day, which again, on the Nugget, the 200-day doesn't fucking matter. If you don't understand why, come to the Discord room, I'll explain to you why technicals on multi-levered ETFs don't matter. But we broke over the 200-day, decent volume. I wouldn't say it's below average or average. I would say it's above average. And so look at the action. I mean, again, if you look at the Qs or the SPY from the bottom, the stuff has been outperforming. Like, you have to look at the relative performance. Like, okay, look at this. From 28 to 33, say 5 points, 15, 16%. Look at the SPY since the lows. We're not at higher highs. Keep that in mind. Look at the Qs again. They are not at higher highs. They are just chopping around. So then when you pull up the GDX, you go, yes, Dan, I get it. Relative performance. Since those little bottoms, looks what's been leading higher over the 200-day. Feels right. Feels good. Keep in mind, if you're buying into the lows like we talked about, you're feeling good about it. Same thing with the GDXJ, 37 up to 42.70. I'd really like to see it get back over 43. 200 days coming. Just keep that in mind. At this point, if you were buying down here, raise your stops, know your levels. AEM, 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 at the 100-day, breaking the downtrend. I don't know what that sound was. It sounded like something like a goat boy from Adam Sandler. Get over this 100-day, close over it. Notice we could get over it and then just kind of choppy. I do like the volume down here. Be aware of that. That looks like accumulation. Keep in mind, when you see big volume at the lows, coming off the lows, that can be some red flags for bears to get out of their shorts. AG, we've talked about this one again. I was like, man, if you could get this under a 10, it was a gift. Here are the zones. Nice close above the 100-day, breaking downtrend. Again, the volumes are a little bit above average. Not sexy or exciting, but sometimes you get moves without volumes. Keep in mind, this thing has been basing for a while. So if you do the, you see what happened, had this big up move. You retested this area. So at some point, we'll probably get back to 14. That's going to be the top of the range. Let's just expand this out and so you can see it coming if you're taking notes, which I hope some of you are. 14, 15 range is going to be the first top for AG. And again, if you bought that at 9 or 10, 50% gain alert, not bad. It's not very bad. While you got other people trying to make 50% on options, you can do it with safe with stock and go big and even lever it with options. Again, if you're selling puts, you're loving it. PAAS, talked about this. 21 area looks good. 100-day, just keep an eye on it. You notice it's been acting as resistance. When it gets resistance, will become support at some point. X, oh man, what a tease today. I thought we had it. I was like, here we go. And it was like, wham, not a close over it. So volume wasn't great. Means it can consolidate. It could be a top too. Never discount the fact that that could be a top. So you have a plan. Let's get into VALE because this is one we've been in for a while. We've been screaming this one since the W bottom down here in August. And again, relative performance. Pull this up against the Spire, the QQQ. This thing is blowing it away. We're at the 200-day. We look pretty good. CCJ is now becoming a thing to this channel because I own it and I think it's a good value. Value is all relative. No, it's the price action. I like materials names. It's hitting. It held the bottom of the range channel, whatever trend line. Blah, blah, blah. Popped up 100-day, backing off. At this point, just be aware. It looks like this trend is being respected. So could it chop? Could it fill the gap? Anything is possible. Yeah, exactly. But just keep an eye on it. I like it. Because let's get into tech. This is what I don't like. And people, it's amazing the stock twits trolls just love to hammer on this. And it's like, hey guys, remember when I said this was a head and shoulders top and actually said you could short it in 163? Well, guess what? You're at 117 now. Guys and gals, just be careful. I mean, it was respecting an upper trend bound. Now we are, I don't know how to call it. It looks like the Qs where you have like these fucked up trend lines that you don't know what they are. You don't close everything. It's wide and loose. It's super hard to swing trade it. So I don't want to fuck with it. Because again, day trading, you day trade with small amounts. That's what you do. You don't day trade with your whole account because all it takes is one mistake to blow up. So if you're trading, as I say, 10% of your normal trade size with day trading, man, you just got to play it quick. We talked about getting under the 200-day. This could be a bear trap. Nicely done at this point. I know it's a wide range, but I think it needs to get over the 130. It just needs to clear all this crap. It needs to clear all this congestion to be bullish. And at this point, it's neutral. I think bearish under 100, but don't be surprised if something chops for a while. I mean, this thing has done it before. Look in the past. It went, and again, if you could have saved yourself the time and effort to just wait for the trends to break, then you got the easy money, because then it went from 85 to 120 versus playing this game of tiddlywinks and who the fuck knows what's going to happen. Let's get into Apple. Again, I'm trying to shorten these videos, but there's just so much to say, and if you don't like what I have to say, then just skip it. Skip to the ticker you want to listen to. Not a big deal. Apple, we said that 20-day close was kind of weird because it closed right at it. Notice what happened. We gapped and we're back up. We're at the 50-day. I mean, at this point, your guess is as good as mine. I have 20 years of experience, and I'm telling you right now, I don't really know, but I also don't care. Like, this is the hardest part, is knowing what not to trade. People don't realize that. Like, at this point, this is really fucking hard. We talked about breaking this trend line. That was the easy money. You got 150 to 180s. That was the easy money. Now you're fucking around in this area? No, you either buy the lows or you short the highs. In between, man, just set an alarm. Come back to it. Come back next week. Come back next month. Whatever you need to do, just gotta be smart. So, all right. MicroStrategy, we talked about this. If Bitcoin's strong, it's good. It has to hold over the 20-day in red. So far, so good. There's really not much to say. What's next on the list? Let's go to Roblox. Yes, Roblox. Oh, feel vindicated. I told you guys this thing is always choppy. We set a W pattern, and then what happened? These wicks close at the highs. Again, do not chase. This thing has a history, a long history of sloppy, choppy bottom outs. Well, now you got a potential double bottom here. And if you bought near the lows like we talked about, again, lows are relative. I mean, could you get 53? Great. If you couldn't, could you get 55? Could you get 57? Whatever. You either stopped out or you bought partially and now you're buying back. This is a great setup for a million reasons for people to learn. Like picking the bottoms, again, if you don't have great volume off the lows, I mean, this wasn't great volume. Like, let's be honest. Like, this is great volume. This has just been choppy. It looked like it was bottoming, but now I think we should redraw the... I mean, it's very clear that W wasn't a real W. It was more like a this is the W. That makes sense. Like, here you go. And for this purpose of people who were born in the early 80s, who are familiar with the Wu-Tang Clan, we give it the yellow W pattern. So that's what it is. Now your stop is your entry. I mean, your stop is the lows. Now, ultimately, could it go lower? Yeah, that's why you have stops. I mean, but the risk is now worth a reward. I mean, this thing was at 140s and now it's at 50 something below the IPO price. I'm not guaranteeing it's going higher, but again, if you like risk reward and you like to make money like by not gambling, that's a good little trade there with a stop. I mean, put in stop however you need fit. But please, for the love of God, just have a plan, man. Have a freaking plan. RIVN talked about this action was a little interesting how it's like just getting over the 20-day. Now, could this pull some bullshit like MicroStrategy? I don't know. I'm not sure when their earnings are, but I bet they're coming up soon, and I don't really see any volume. Could it come back to the 50s? Absolutely. If you're a bull, you just got to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan and you're like, dude, what do I do? And I mean it like, bruh, dude, I don't know what to do here. Come into the Discord room. Let's ask. Because keep in mind, this was at 180, bottomed in the 50s, and now you're in the 60s. Now, it has to stay over the 20-day. That's just, don't overthink it. But be aware, earnings are coming. Like, here you go, the long wick action before Roblox. Somebody knows something. Someone always does. Good old Tesla. We've talked about this one in nauseum. If you are new to the channel, we're like, bro, you got to sell cover calls. You got to get out up here. This is like the blow off. This is the gradual like chop, then the exponential blow off. You got it. Then Musk was selling because, again, he knows to sell the blow offs. Here's his day. Here's his day of reckoning selling. You got a double. You got a multi-top here, and we talked about shorting that. At this point, good luck. 200-day or over the 20-day, and it's right at the 20-day. I mean, again, I just think there's other stuff to trade. I don't know what to say. People want an easy answer. I'm just going to say I'll punt. And because I know when to punt, I don't get burned as much as people who are overly aggressive all the time in aggressive stocks. PENN, holding this trend line, said it got over the 50-day. It looks good, you know, and it's like a Larry David. Yeah, looks good. I don't know. I mean, yeah. We talked about at some point, all this volume picked up by the market makers has to get unloaded higher. So it was a pain in the butt. Here's an example of being wrong. Head and shoulders bottom made a lower low, but could it make another shoulder test? Watch the market, because if the market peels, this thing's going to peel like an onion too. UTHR. We said get over 215 or wait for the trend. It's just in between. Let's end it on the oil names because everybody is talking about oil now. And it's like, interesting, because if you were talking about oil last year, nobody was talking about it. And you could have timed to buy it here in the 40s. We talked about that. Like, here was the extreme from COVID. That was the head and shoulders top. Here was the retest. Remember how we talked about double bottoms, little W down there, time to buy. Now everyone's talking about buying it. It's had a nice smooth kind of upward trajectory. I've done many alerts on this. Needs to get over 113. It just seems to get over it and around it and not close over it. high and tight's good. Just use the 20-day. Jono, if you're listening, this 20-day area has to be your exit point, and you can get back in. But if you've been in this for a while, sell covered calls then. And if you want, I would sell cover. I would say like the 90s. Sell the March 90 covered calls. I don't think you get hurt with that long term, especially if you could harvest $20 in it. ExxonMobil, we talked about this getting a little parabolic for my liking, back down to the 20-day. Check out the monthly, because this is where I'm really praying for the back test of the trend line down here in the 70s. It has gone from 30 up to 65, down 15 points, and then up almost 30 points. That's a Gartley pattern, ABCD completed Gartley pattern. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going lower, but it says in probability wise, 75% of the time, it's probably going to start pulling back. You've completed the move. So does that mean we're going to cut a deal with the Iranians for oil, or we're going to just do, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. Let's not get into it. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you got questions, please subscribe. Check out the Discord room. I'm here to help. Thanks for watching. For more trading knowledge and insight, click on the videos on the right, and also join the Discord room. Link is in the description below. If you have any questions, please stop on by the Discord room and let's chat. Thank you.